What do you actually make, though, of this situation where INEOS seem to be persisting with decisions that they know are going to bring bad PR? I mean, we can sit here and say, all right, most workplaces don't offer a free lunch, but cutting more jobs and cutting what should be perks of working at a huge Premier League football club. They know that that's going to make bad headlines, and yet they persist with it.
100%. They're eating into the goodwill of the staff, essentially. When you have local people who work there, people who are from the city, people who are from who are Manchester United fans, who would want to put in the extra hours or want that extra grace and really put the extra miles in. That's gone. You're creating an environment it was already toxic, but now the workforce and morale is at an all-time low. So I don't understand how this shaving of the top of the savings that it's going to make is actually going to have a profound effect in a positive light. I don't understand the trade-off of that. Like for the trade-off of staff going into work going, this is awful. Like there's no bonuses anymore. There's no lunch anymore. Are they recording our conversations? There's no travel to here anymore. And I get you have to tighten the belt, and I get that things had to change, but making that decision now, when you need people to be on board, when you need to basically convince everybody, including the fans, but okay, the workforce, that's the driving force of the football club, you need to convince them to join you and walk in your direction. You're doing the opposite.
You need a morale boost.
Exactly.
And yet, with these decisions, surely you're going to be draining that morale. Do you know what would annoy me as well, I think, if I was one of those employees? And by the way, let's remember, we're talking about people here. We're talking about people who need an income to support their families. Let's not treat these as numbers. Let's not just say it's 250. These are people that are going to have to make big decisions because of these actions from the club. But you know what would annoy me is the way that that Manchester United's PR department have tried to say, well, this is all about streamlining the club to ensure football success. Now, I think I saw a stat that the club themselves put out that the lunch decision will save them $1 million a year. That's 3 weeks of Casemiro's wages.
Exactly.
They're not,
so it doesn't make sense.
You can't pull the wool over the fans' eyes.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying about making those type of decisions now. How much are you really saving? You talk about the tip of the iceberg. That's probably an understatement with this. And I want to see this level of ruthlessness. Are you going to get this ruthless with that squad in the summer in terms of telling players they're not welcome, forcing them out the door, ripping up contract? This real iron fist, real ruthless, because Sir Jim's making all these tough decisions. Are you going to make a tough decision to say to Luke Shaw, this is unacceptable. Listen, you got given this contract in the last regime. We're trying to sell you, or you're just not going to play. Like, are you going to find a way to make Casemiro not say, well, I've got 18 months left. I'd quite like to stay here, actually, and see that out. You're on 350 grand a week. We're forcing. Where is that same ruthlessness with the playing squad?
Yeah, and also we've already seen that they haven't been ruthless enough because they didn't get rid of Erik ten Hag. Instead, they said, "Oh no, actually, do you know what, Eric? You did win the FA Cup despite the worst league finish we've had in our history. So you can keep your job, and we'll give you 200 million to spend as well." And then they have to pay for that, which is part of this mess.
They've made the most expensive mistake since they've been here. Of course, all the failings of the past, all the sins of the past before they got here. Absolutely, no Manchester United fan expected INEOS to come in and fix 20 years of failings from the Glazers from 2005. We understand that, right? But when you come in and you saying you're tightening the belt, you want to make Manchester United more sustainable, more financially viable, etc., and you proceed to make costly errors that cost the club millions of pounds, not 30k, for someone's wages for the year, 40k a year, and shavings here and there, lunch, etc. No, millions of pounds. The Dan Ashworth situation cost Manchester United, 4 or 5 million. It's millions. It's more than one. Yeah. The Erik ten Hag situation, and then investing into Erik ten Hag at the tune of 200 odd million pounds for a team that isn't designed or built for the new manager you actually wanted, is millions pounds worth of mistakes. If Ruben Amorim was here in the summer, would he have bought Joshua Zirkzee? Would he have bought De Ligt? No. Would he have bought Mazraoui? No. You can see with Dorgu straight away the type of player he probably would have bought. Complete contrast to what Mazraoui is, who's a fullback. So they are having an absolute laugh, and they have contributed to making things worse within their first year.
I want to ask you about these quotes from Erik ten Hag. that we've seen. He's been speaking on a podcast. It's a company attached to his own management company. It's SEG Media. In this interview, Ten Hag said this generation of players usually find it difficult to deal with criticism. Criticism really gets to them. The generation that I grew up in had much thicker skin. You could be much more direct. I was approached much more directly. If I would do that with my current group of players, I would demotivate them. If you do that to the current generation, they find it offensive.
Yeah.
Do you think that the overall downfall of Ten Hag was because he wasn't able to motivate his players in the right way?
Usually always is. When the manager gets sacked, that's usually it. You know, that you can say they're either a really nice guy, but their methods and their principles, what is this? Or they're authoritarian, really strict, but also their methods and their principles. You know, if players are winning football matches and understand what you're asking them to do on the pitch, and they gain momentum, they gain confidence, and they believe in you, whether you're stern, strict, relaxed, happy, sad, it doesn't matter. It's about the football. So they lost faith in him, I think, for a multitude of reasons. One, probably, the way he communicated with them and some of the discrepancies in the change room. I don't back the Jadon Sancho situation. I was very vocal about that. But one thing I did look at in a sort of side lens was that, like, well, look at the faith that he showed in Anthony, because it was his guy playing every game, never really taking him out. Or Marcus Rashford would be stinking the place out, playing badly, but he'd just keep playing him, wouldn't really. So he sort of had his favourites. So that rubs off in the squad, and people's, whether it's right or wrong, other players start to go, I can't believe you're not playing. Can you believe that? This guy, it's because it's his guy. He's brought him in from Ajax, 80 million quid. But at the same time, both statements can be true, because when he says that, you know, the players of this era are more difficult to speak to, are more difficult to criticise, everybody knows that.
Do you think he's using this as a bit of an excuse, though? I mean, I'm sorry, but
yeah, because he failed.
Yeah, but I don't actually buy into that about the current generation either. You're telling me that Pep Guardiola never has a go at his players. Arne Slot never has a go at his players.
But you see, exactly. But because they're winning, it's perceived differently. That's what I mean. If you spoke to somebody, how Pep Guardiola sometimes goes in on his players, right, and says stuff about them in the press conf, you know, but they're losing. Players don't kind of like that when they're trying to say, I tell you what, you're saying this about me, and we're losing. So what do you know? Everything's rubbish. The problem's you. But if you single out a player when the whole team's going in the right direction, scoring goals, this, that, and the other, then that one player can feel isolated and not really come back at you. But what Erik ten Hag's problem was, the team was doing poor on the pitch. They're getting opened up. He's coming out in the press conference saying, well, that's your analysis of it. No, that's the fact that you're getting torn apart. And the players didn't buy into his principles.
Can I ask you something as well, though? Given that Erik ten Hag pretty much had the same squad that we're seeing now, does it worry you a bit if he's saying that and you've got Ruben Amorim coming out most weeks? And let's be honest, and I'm not saying he's wrong to do this, but burying that group of players, saying they're not good enough, saying they have to be suffering each and every week, saying he doesn't have the right players to play his system. Does that worry you as a fan? Well, or are you just looking at this season as a complete write-off?
The season is a complete write-off in terms of the Premier League, of course. The problem with Man United is that there's almost like an extra layer. You know, I know we always laugh about it because I say hate the dog, never ignored, right? But the level of scrutiny at United, which we can all agree on, it's like... It's Man United are back. It's times 10. It is. And what Ruben Amorim's saying is that, which we've seen, it's not just him saying it. It was when Jose was there, it was when Van Gaal was there. The badge weighs heavy. So when he's saying that, because he was asked, do they feel the brunt of the redundancies? And what he said was the players are not really in that way. The players are in sort of a bubble in their own lives. They more feel the pressure of the ex-pros going in on them, social media, the scrutiny of playing for... That's what they're feeling. And for far too long, Man United fans are like, these players aren't fit to wear the shirt. There's so many players that don't rise to the occasion. There's so many players who, basically, as they say, you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen kind of thing. That's how it seems. So on one hand, you kind of should be criticised for that. If you want to play for Manchester United and your grievance is that it's just too much noise. Everyone sort of, when we're losing, everyone's talking about it. People are saying that we're poor. People having a go at me. Don't play for this football club. You can't play for this football club and that's where it's like a 6 to 1, half a dozen the other, because you go, well, how much does that help? They're obviously struggling with that. That must be really difficult to perform under that. But Amorim's basically saying they're feeling the pressures of that, which is essentially making them forget what I'm trying to get them to do, because they're trying to fix all these things under serious pressure. But guess what? You're playing for Manchester United. And if Manchester United are going to continue to be where they are in the league and not challenging for top honours, that scrutiny, that pressure, that criticism is going to exist.
Yeah.
So don't come here then.
One word answer from you. You play in Ipswich tonight.
Go on.
Would you take a draw if you were offered it right now?
No, because I have to preserve some form of like we've got to win.
I don't believe you for a second.
No, I did against Everton. I said
don't believe you.
Everton.
I don't believe
I can't
you.
be out here saying just give me a draw now so I can go home. No,
but I know there'll be a little fist pump if you get one.
No,
there will be.
What,
There will
a draw
be.
at home? No,
There will
be
be.
shocking.
100%.
Oh.
Yeah, but you might stay up.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.